do yourself a favor and start watching Japanese films. I love this. And it's not because it's Japanese.
It's a good day to be in Japan. Subarashii. Arigatou gozaimashita.
It's because it's some of the most human storytelling I've seen in a while, and I've watched a lot of films. I just reacted to Perfect Days. It is a film by Wim Wenders, okay? And if you didn't see the reaction, there it is right there. Just go watch it whenever you feel like it. It is an hour long. It's a 2-hour movie in total, but I cut it down to be an hour long, to save you some time. If you're into underlying meanings, themes, world building, cinematography, sound design, plot, pacing, actor performance, writing, everything that is storytelling, then congratulations, you've ended up in the right place, because today, did my screen just turn off? We're gonna be breaking down the story, the film of Perfect Days, and I think it's gonna be a good one. We should start off with the key components of this film, which is Wim Wenders, which is the director. He also weighed in on the sound choice, right? The actual scores or the music of the film, along with Takuma Takasaki, okay? Now, the star of this show is Koji Yakusho, which plays the character Hirayama, which is our main character in the film Perfect Days, okay? So those are really the main people you need to know about here. You know, my favorite thing to do after watching a film is to go on Reddit and read what people thought about the movie, because there always is some interesting takes there, I feel like. And I also like to judge what they say versus what I say, you know? And I found that a lot of people are arguing about the theme of this movie and actually arguing against Wim Wenders himself and what he said the theme was and what they think the theme is. So according to Wim Wenders, this is quoted, it is a celebration of finding beauty, joy, and serenity in a simple and routine-driven life. To summarize the film, our main character, Hirayama, is a toilet cleaner in Tokyo, and we follow him on his, seemingly isolated days where he doesn't interact with people. He goes and cleans up around Tokyo, and he goes home. But he does have a very strong and redundant routine. Every morning he wakes up, he folds his futon, he goes and brushes teeth, he shaves, and then he takes care of his plants. He grabs certain things on his little counter before he leaves the house. He grabs a coffee out of the vending machine, and he heads to work. He does that every single morning, the same way, every single time. I wouldn't say he enjoys his job, but he does take it very seriously, and he cleans up very thoroughly, unlike his counterpart, Takashi, which is on the younger side and a little bit irresponsible and lazy, right? Or he seems to be that way. So throughout the film, I did see what Wim Wenders said, that it was a balance of finding beauty in simple things, but it also was like the balance of tradition versus modernization, right? Like he was okay not owning a smartphone or knowing what Spotify was, because you can't beat a good cassette tape, can you? Whoa! There were truly many surprising moments in this movie that you just won't expect, because it was a slower film. It was very slow, right? It didn't rush through anything. It didn't romanticize anything. It didn't degrade anything either, but they just kind of just showed you what it was, you know? And I really did like that quality of the film. The main themes could be isolation, routine or tradition and structure, of course, finding beauty in simple things, living in the moment, and maybe even societal norm rejection, right? But those are the main themes, but I like the undercurrent. I always like the sub-themes of movies that you really have to pay attention to, and I found 3 that might not just be surface level. It takes a little bit of extra thought, and those are avoidance, trauma, and mortality. Now, I thought the mortality sub-theme really coincided well with the main theme of finding beauty in little things and living in the moment. At the end of the movie, we had a character named Tomoyama approach Hirayama at the river bay, and we had a very deep, very brief, but very deep conversation about mortality, about how life can just end without you figuring everything out. Tomoyama always wanted to know, do shadows get darker when they touch each other, right? And he said that there's random things that I just don't know, and I'm about to die. And it was really it was a reality check, really, for me. You can only imagine what's going through his head, right? And this leads us to the structure and the tradition and the routine. That's such a heavy part of Hirayama's life, and how that conversation with Tomoyama at the river bay may have affected him in this moment. Hirayama goes throughout the film barely speaking to people. He has minimal interactions with the people he comes across. The guy at the camera store, the lady at the bookstore, the guy at the public bathhouse, Takashi, his co-worker, he barely speaks to anyone. Hell, even the guy that serves him at the place he likes to eat, he barely talks to him either. I mean, the only time I really think he opened up was one with Mama in the bar, and then the other one was with his niece, Nico. I think the film really alludes to a time where he wasn't so isolated, but over time, living this lifestyle, maybe dealing with trauma the wrong way, he's convinced himself that this routine he has, this life that he lives, is enough for him. And for some people, that's true. You know, some people don't have a problem being alone, like being isolated and not talking to people. Me personally, I talk to about maybe an average of 3 people a day. And that's not till the end of the day when I'm actually going outside. I stay inside for the most of the days. But I think that conversation with Tomoyama at the river bay made him realize that maybe he's been making a mistake by being so isolated when he definitely doesn't need to. I mean, he has a niece that loves him. He has a sister that loves him in her own way. I really didn't like that woman. But his family cares about him. The people that are around him, they really do try to connect with him, and he is just not very receptive to it. You know, he's like kind of built these walls up over time, and presumably he's fine. But at the end of the movie, he breaks down. And when I say he breaks down, I don't mean like he's in shambles. I think he was feeling a lot of emotions, just, you know, he's unsure about his direction, his path, like what he's been doing. And that's a little bit difficult to deal with, you know? There's only a certain amount of grief and happiness and trauma that you can deal with as a human before you just snap. It's interesting because they played the song Feeling Good at the end of the film, the last few minutes as he's driving into the sunset, and he's just shifting from emotion to emotion like every 5 seconds. It was haunting to watch that because you just have to sit there and wonder, what exactly is he feeling right now, right? It's a lot to think about after you watched everything he's been through. And I mean, easily, I was able to tell he was definitely in a state of trying to convince himself that everything was okay, even though I think he's been recently woken up to the reality of how he's been living. At least that's my interpretation of it. Let's talk about Nico, man. Nico was the GOAT of this film because she really brought the best out of our guy, Hirayama. She really did. I feel like she was a kindred spirit to Hirayama in a weird type of way because, like I said, Takashi was on the younger side, and I think he embodies that youthfulness that, Hirayama was not cool with, like that modernization of society, but yet she still likes to read books. She likes the cassette tape. She still has the old Olympus camera that Hirayama gave her when she was younger. If Hirayama would just be open to it, I think Nico could have been the bridge he needed, to escape the life he was living, if that's what he was trying to do. And obviously my favorite scenes and everyone's favorite scenes of the film came with Nico on screen, both of them being when they were riding bikes. Now, Nico's mother, Hirayama's sister, really thinks that Nico is a troublemaker, right? She's a bad kid. Hirayama doesn't think so. Thinks she's a great kid. So Hirayama and Nico's mother, they clash. They don't agree with how life should be lived by themselves and for their family. And we really see that in a very heart-wrenching scene, which is the only scene I really almost cried in, where it was just a very judgmental line of speech and body language coming from Nico's mother to Hirayama when she found out that he really was cleaning toilets around Tokyo. It was so judgmental. It was so nasty to me. From that moment of the film and on, I was so angry at everybody who did anything to Hirayama. I was like, bro, you have to stand up for yourself. But it's very avoidant, man. He just keeps taking abuse, and that was a tough watch. But anyway, let me get back on track. On the bike ride, Nico ends up asking Hirayama, why don't you and my mother get along? And Hirayama had a very good, quote. He said that, this world is made up of many worlds. He said, me and your mother maybe just live in different worlds. And Nico comes back with a crazy question. Well, what world do I live in? And I was like, oh my God. Like, you see why I say you need to watch these movies? Oh my, as a storyteller, you can learn so much from the writing in these movies. The writing is so good. It's so human. In the second moment, fast forward, now they're stopped on the bridge. She says, we should go. And he tells her, next time. And she said, next time? When's that? When's next time? And that's when he says,
今度は今度。今は今。
next time is next time, now is now. Kondo wa kondo, ima wa ima. And that bar, that is a bar. That is what brought me to this movie in the first place. I seen that clip on an Instagram reel randomly, and I don't spend much time scrolling, so it was a lucky grab for me. And I shot straight to watch this movie because instantly I interpreted that as another quote that I found, which is "Be where your feet are." And it's a reminder that in this modern world, we do need to stay more present. I do think that we have been slowly having our humanity drained out of us by being convinced that we should live here instead of here. And the last thing I wanted to brush over that I think is a individual take. I haven't heard this before, but I don't think Takashi is a bad guy. Now, he did some technically very bad things and I was angry with him, okay? He was trying to talk or date this girl and his moped was broken down, so he couldn't take the girl where she wanted to go. So he asked to use Hirayama's van. And I'm like, no. Nah, bro. Of course, Hirayama being a pushover. He tells him yes, they all get in the car and fast forward, they drop her off and he wants money to take that girl out, except he doesn't have any. So what does he do? He says, hey, how much are these cassette tapes worth? And this is the thing about the cassette tapes. They are the only time that we hear music in the film. There's literally no music played in the film unless he's in the car listening to music. So I know those cassette tapes are a big deal to him, but Takashi takes the cassette tapes anyway and takes them into a pawn shop and tries to pawn them off. Obviously, Hirayama has to draw the line and he says, no, like, give me my cassette tapes back. I'm not selling any of them. And he basically throws a fit in the store and Hirayama ends up giving Takashi the rest of the money in his wallet. He's driving back home and his van runs out of gas. It then shows him getting out of his car, looking at the cassette tapes, pondering a little bit, and then walking back in the direction of the pawn shop. Now, it doesn't show him pawning off the cassette tapes. It cuts to him at his house, which I thought was a very good writing choice because that was probably an intimate moment for him. And it's all because of Takashi. I hated Takashi after that moment, but I realized something at the end of the video. There was sort of a stubbornness to Hirayama, right? That I sensed throughout the movie. And I said, maybe Takashi is just the embodiment of how he sees the youth. He thinks he doesn't want to be a part of the modern world because the youth are disrespectful, they're lazy, they're unreliable. And I think that was maybe a very undertone. I could be reading too deep into that and you let me know what you think. But I think that was a pretty good take. All in all, I think this movie was a 10 out of 10. It was a very human film. Like I said, it reminded me of Rental Family that I watched, another Japanese film. And that director was Hikari, right? And then Brendan Fraser was the star to that movie. You should definitely go watch that because that one actually made me cry in the theaters. And I don't cry in front of people. But you really believe the actions, the behaviors, the reactions from all of these characters. It just seems really real, believable, and just human. And I will always respect a film like that. I do have a little bit of bias because I just got back from Japan, not a flex. If you want to see content on that, I am working on a vlog. So just, let me know you're interested and then I'll post it. If not, you'll never get it. I'll probably still end up posting it anyway, but thank you for spending some time with me. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of Perfect Days. It was a really cool film, really different from what we see today, which is very refreshing, right? That slow, intentional, right? Filmmaking process, direction process. Let me know what I should react to next. I do anything from anime to live action that is episodic, and that's films. Whatever you want, I will react to it, depending on your taste. If your taste is bad, I probably will just tell you no. Oh, and if you're a content creator or you like storytelling, I am building a storytelling community right here. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you like storytelling content. That's all we're going to be doing, building a community of storytellers who don't want to be forgotten. Our aim is to just be the best versions of ourselves personally and professionally. So with that being said, I'm out of here. If you didn't watch the reaction, get on it. And I'm actually, coming out with the reaction to Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. If you're into anime, you're in for a treat. Anyway, have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you very soon. Peace.